Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. Today, we have another broadcasting superstar who's going to be a part of the show today. Before we get to Mike, I want to bring in Vincent Turner, our host, and also Logan Landers, who is our producer today. And guys, we've got a special show today with a guy that has a tremendous amount of history, especially in the California area. He's a nationally renowned broadcaster. He's had a show that is on armed forces. He began in the simple world of just announcing high school and college sports, and he's taken it to a completely different level. Vincent, our guest today is Mike McDowd, and you have known him for quite a while, way back in the day when you were first getting started. But yet this is still the first time that we've had him on the show. So it's about time, Vincent, that we finally get him to join us.
Well, I hope everyone out there in our audience get your seatbelt ready, because we got one of the most talented guys that grew up in the Bay Area during the times of the A's, the 49ers, University of California. And all I can say is let's get this party started, because the Bay Area is in the house.
Well, let's not forget the Raiders or the Golden State Warriors, the San Francisco Giants, who have since had some great years, but we'll talk about all of that. Mike McDowd, welcome to the show. We appreciate you being here on 100 Yards of Football.
Nice to see you, Happy and Tony, and I'm looking forward to talking, moose hunting and ice fishing and Canadian Football League and also NHL hockey. You just had me. We just did a sound check. I'm thinking we're on the air. I gave you nothing but golden nuggets, and now we're live. You kidding me? You just absolutely screwed up my entire shtick. So, I know it's Vincent, and I know it's Harper, and I know it's not Happy. And by the way, how is life in Bakersfield, California? You guys having a good time? I love the smell of the oil wells just whiffling through the town. And I know you guys got it good out there in Bakersfield.
Bakersfield and cow manure go well together, along with the strawberry fields. But here in Atlanta, it's a little bit different, right? We've got leaves falling, and football is in the air especially. So we will definitely talk a little bit about that. Mike, your career as a broadcaster, what was it in your early days that you started thinking, I love sports and I want to be a part of it in a very special and unique way, and I'm a pretty good communicator? When you tie all that into together, how did that fit for you?
Well, first of all, Harper, I'm an extraordinary communicator. Okay, not just a good communicator. I'm extraordinary.
Phenomenal
I
way
love
up at the top. Are you at phenomenal, Mike? Extraordinary and phenomenal are almost interchangeable, aren't they?
I'm right there. I'm right there.
Yeah.
For a couple of things that really occurred. I played high school basketball. I was a heck of a player. What, I was like the 10th guy or something. I don't know what it was. And I got hurt. So like, hey, we need a PA announcer. And I said, why not? Yeah. So that's how it all started. I would get out there, I'd be like, Trojan basketball, and I'd BS it the whole time. And then, hey, you're pretty good. And so that's kind of the way it started. And also, Vincent, I don't know if you know this, but Harper and I have a connection. We started talking like we knew each other for years. And the funny thing is, he said something about Notre Dame, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Notre Dame High School. I'm like, wait a second, Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks? I said, Harper, I was born in Sherman Oaks at Doctors Hospital. I don't know if it's still there, Harper, but so that the love affair, and I grew up in Northern California, across the Golden Gate Bridge, a place called Marin County, and my family, the rest of my family is in Southern California, so there was nothing like Dodger baseball on a summer afternoon. Get like Union 76 and Farmer John pure pork sausage on a clear, sunny afternoon.
It is time for Dodger baseball, isn't it, Mike? You just did your Vin Scully right there. Your imitation of him, the best of all.
How it all started. Francisco. So that's kind of where it all started, I believe. And my dad played college basketball. He worked in the radio business for KGO ABC radio in San Francisco. So I grew up kind of around the industry as well. But my dad was smart. He was on the sales and marketing side of broadcasting, not the on-air side. So that's kind of a shorthand. By the way, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, things kind of changed when your father was first worked. Radio isn't the same today as it was. I mean, it's been replaced with podcast and streaming and everything like that. I don't know if your dad could have had the same living, but at that time, I imagine there was a tremendous amount of radio play, not only for cars, but people would go home and listen to the game, or they would entertain themselves around a radio. I'm not talking about the 40s or 50s either. I'm talking still in the 60s.
You know, as I see the ABC Circle 7 logo up there, by the way, not nicely done. I just want to add that I worked there. I was also an intern there. But radio is, I hate to say this, it's a dinosaur. It's dying. And it's so sad for me because, as I told you, I grew up around my father being at KGO ABC San Francisco. And at the time, KGO radio, and I know, if you appreciate radio, you're going to appreciate this story. They were the Rolls Royce of radio, like the KABC, the KFIs in Los Angeles. The WG? What's the big dog in Atlanta that's always been the number one station? Is it WGA?
WSB.
WSB. So actually, KGO Radio was voted the number one station in the market for 35 years. They never. And then they were actually also voted, I think, multiple years, the number one station in America. So you can imagine being around that environment and what I experienced. I saw nothing but the elite, the best of the best. And it was a thrill, but times have changed. Rating metrics have changed. A new rating metric came out years ago, and this great station, KGO News Talk 810, is no longer around, if you can believe that. They are now a sports betting station because these cheap owners come in and destroy these great stations. And really, that's the bottom line. I mean, the game has changed. The metrics have changed. And, there was nothing like, and Vincent, Vincent, you probably grew up as a young man listening to Braves games. Harper probably listened to Vince Scully when they were on KABC and KMPC radio in Los Angeles. I listened to some great Lon Simmons, who was the voice of the San Francisco Giants, on that transistor radio at bed. I mean, you hear these stories, but a lot of kids today watching the show, or even college or whatever, young adults, have no idea what I just said. So, but yeah, the game of radio is definitely changed. And it's kind of a sad commentary.
I have a friend who says if I became president, one of the first things that I would do is give radio back to the family owners, where you maybe had 2 or 3 different stations, but you knew that there were people in it for the long haul. It was a part of their business, their profession, their career. It's what they did. When you can buy 100 or 200 stations as a conglomeration, you not only lose the personal feel for it, but you're right. It comes down to bottom line. Well, we're going to cut this, we're going to cut that. And guess what? You're going to lose listeners, and your market's going to change.
Right. And talent is, we didn't like the way you look today. You're fired. I mean, they come and go, and they honestly, on the talent side of things, some of the kids in college that come out of college are actually getting jobs in big markets like San Francisco, LA, Chicago, New York, Atlanta. They have no business being on the air. They should be in Chico, California, Bakersfield, Valdosta, Georgia, learning the craft and learning how to properly use words. And, radio is theater of the mind, okay? And we must keep that in mind because it is an art form. It's really become somewhat of a lost art form.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Vince Scully, and the thing about Vin that I learned as a young kid, and he would even say it, we're here to paint the picture. I'm painting a picture through my words so that you can visually see as well as hear what I'm saying to talk about a ball game. And anybody who was good at what they did, whether it be in Memphis, Tennessee, Vincent, or whether you be in Northern California, part of that radio audience with that I had a little green Panasonic transistor radio that I would have near my bed, and I would listen to the Dodger game at 7:30, 8:30, 9:30. Whenever I went to bed, I'd fall asleep in the morning. I'd have to change the battery in the phone. But you're painting pictures, and you have to learn how to do that. It's an acquired taste. You can't just be told what to do and then expect it to be done with any type of character and with any type of affluence to where you're good enough to where people are going to say, hey, I want you to do it again for the next ball game and the one after that.
Right. And you can hear Vince Scully say, and there's Harper LeBel with a Dodger dog. Oh, the mustard is so bright and joyful as he takes his first bite into that glorious, wonderful, tasty morsel known as a Dodger dog. And we know that Vincent Turner also would love nothing better than to have his first taste of a Los Angeles Dodger dog. And after that, I know you're.
Well,
I know I am.
Yeah. Well, Red Barber and
Vincent
and Vin and countless other greats ended up entertaining us with the game and with a story or two about a player from years ago that would keep grandpa and new kid in the ball game, if you know what I mean by that. Is that a taste that you acquired early on, realizing that from sitting behind a mic and calling a basketball game to get into the point where you feel like I not only want to do this, but I really want to do it well? Is that a part of it for you?
Well, I definitely said I want to do it. I don't know if I'm doing it well, but I would like to do it well. It's such a subjective. I've had people say, you suck. You're this, you're that. But do I want to do it well? Yeah. I mean, look, and this is a perfect segue. I'm currently. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm going to block the screen. There's my football chart. There's my game day chart. So you asked me, do I want to do well? I've got I do play-by-play football right now in Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm speaking of doing it well. I work for Edward Waters University. They are an HBCU here in town, and it's an absolute. They're a Division II football program. Getting gigs, I'm continuing to take swings. So I feel blessed to do Edward Waters University. It's an inner city school, and the kids are dynamite, and they really appreciate my background. But I prepare for an Edward Waters University football game the same way I prepare for a Division I game or a NFL broadcast. So do I want to do it well? Absolutely. I will not show up to the stadium if I'm not prepared, if I'm not doing interviews with the head coach, the OC, and the DC. And I get background even for these games. And I hope they appreciate it. At this great little stadium, sometimes the scoreboard gets blocked. I can't even see where the ball's placed and what time it is. But yeah, man, do I want to do it well? You bet. I mean, I think all of us in life want to do things. If you don't do it well, why show up?
Well, you brought up segue. Let's do this a little bit. What does a normal week for you entail? There are folks that are out here that are going, I think I could do that. I could probably do it better than Harper and Mike do it. But the things that are entailed, you had your book, right? I have a board that I prepare, notes about players. I'm a spotter. I'm also a guy that has a comment about what took place during the previous play. Sideline reporting, interviewing coaches, all that is a part of it. But let's go through a normal week with you. You play on Saturday at Edward Waters. So Sunday, let's say you're traveling, you're getting back home. Do you begin your week on Monday?
I do. I'm going to be very transparent. This year's pretty easy for me. They didn't want to pay for road games, so I only get to do a handful of home games, which is fine for me. Last year, and I don't know, Vincent should have had me on the show last year. Last year, I was contacted by one of the all-time great schools, and known as Valdosta State University, and I did their home and road games. I thought it would be interesting, something I've never experienced. I went to parts of Alabama that I didn't even know existed. I felt like it was, and I got to say, what is this, deliverance? I mean, it was unbelievable. It was unreal. Parts of Alabama, parts of Cleveland, Mississippi, Delta State University. I loved it. I embraced it. I spent a night there during Christmas time for the playoffs. Listen, I wouldn't trade it for the world. The people are phenomenal. So just kind of answering a roundabout way, but Valdosta was an experience, but this Edward Waters gig is even more special to me because these kids, and you talk about preparation and everything, but what really attracted me is seeing kids from all walks of life. White, brown, pink, purple, doesn't matter. We even have a girl kicker on our team. She's a little white kid from rural Florida. And it's those things that really stand out to me. And you can see the hunger of them wanting to play this great game of football. They love it. They live it. They get an education. There's nothing glamorous about it. Edward Waters University is in Jacksonville, so it's a pretty good-sized media market. They do get coverage, unlike other Division II teams, even Division I teams. They don't get a lot of coverage in major markets. But one of the most beautiful things I experienced, and it's all part of the allure of me wanting to be with this program. Edward Waters had a scrimmage, and I got to meet some of the kids that were coming by. There was a tent, and they were giving them pizza and food, and I noticed this one young kid with dreadlocks. He looks at me. I look at him. He closes his eyes. He pauses, and he says a prayer. And that just touched my heart. I said, that's what it's all about. This kid gets it. He's grateful for everything he has in his life. I don't know his story, but he obviously has a story, and he's playing college football at Edward Waters University. So I think that's kind of the backstory of I'm glad I'm able to share with you guys, but I also think it's a story that is very profound.
Well, I would think that the joy for you from what we've encountered so far is it's not for the money, it's for the love of the game. To borrow a quote from the movie that was under the same title. Your ability to see kids that no matter what, it's not about the scholarship. It's not about what we're going to do after. If you're lucky enough to play well enough to be seen and viewed and maybe even get a chance, but you're doing it because of your passion for the sport, and you get to do something that you love at this level, which is, basic football. You'd start at basic football 101 at Edward Waters. That's what you're a part of every day. And you get to see that it's not easy, but it's that toughness, it's the grit, it's the stick-to-itiveness that allows you to get to share stories about these kids and brag on them because of the great accomplishments that they're able to take care of, not only with school, but with sports, including the football program that they're playing on.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm also humbled by some of the coaches listen, the facilities at Edward Waters are subpar, and I'm being nice. But some of the coaches, one of our coaches was at Wyoming, one of them was at Rutgers, with what's his name, the head coach there now, Shiano. Yeah. And, he was a coach there. One of the other coaches was at, where was he? Hawaii. Our safeties coach, T. Mitchell, guess where he was last year? With the Jacksonville Jaguars. And now he's coaching Edward Waters University D2 HBCU football. I love the kid. I love T. Mitchell. He's a local player from Bowles High School, which is a powerhouse in Jacksonville. Bowles High School is unreal. First of all, it's one of the most beautiful private schools I've ever seen in America. And by the way, since we're talking about Bowles, they have the greatest swimming program in the history of America. They've produced 64 Olympians. 35 of them have won gold. 33 of them have won gold medals. I don't know. Are you aware of that?
No, my Mission Viejo was the place where a lot of them would train when I was growing up. Shirley Babashoff and John Neighbors was they were Olympic champions, but that's just after they learned to swim at the level that you need to be at. So you're telling me that Bowles is a place that develops more than any other spot on planet Earth.
Well, they get kids from all over the world, and their swimming program is so huge. It's probably one of the greatest sports stories in the history of America. Really, if you really think about it. I mean, universities do not produce those type of Olympians, but these guys, their swimming program, they had a legend coach, and he went on to the University of Florida. But it's just, it's fascinating what you learn about different parts of the country, what they do, what they're focusing, and yet they also had a fabulous football program here in Jacksonville, pretty legendary. But getting back to Edward Waters, yeah, there's the bowl school. I mean, look at that place. Is that not gorgeous? I don't know if you guys can see that on your screen, but
Yes,
it used to be a resort. It used to be a resort, and it's
I think they're only using 45-watt bulbs. I'm offended. I think they should have 65-watt bulbs on all of those lights, and there's a few of them where they're not even lit up. What a gorgeous campus! Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, you sound like a true Californian. I mean, I love your commitment to energy and just conservation, and it's touching. I'm getting teary-eyed. So Vincent.
Me too. Yeah.
And I know Vincent could feel that as well. I mean, he is a Razorback. He's a Razorback. He understands.
Yeah.
I have one question. Y'all forgot the most famous alumni that went to Bowles School. Chipper Jones, man.
Yeah. He's right up there. He's right up there.
Yeah.
He's huge. He's huge. You ever met him?
No, sir. I seen him in person one time, and he's a big guy. I was shocked.
Yes. Those baseball players, and Harper will contend. I'm gonna go off track for 1 second because this is a good one. Who was it? I was back in the day. I think I was in my latter 20s, early 30s. I'm at a fun little spot in San Francisco with my buddy. I think it was in my 30s, and I cover the Golden State Warriors, and I see my friend Chris Gatling, who was a pretty good basketball player. I don't know if you remember Chris.
Oh, Dominican.
Yeah, man. There you got ODU, and I see Chris. We start talking, and he's like, "Hey, man, how you doing? And Chris, good to see you, buddy." And the fact that he even talked to me, that was a big deal because I was a fairly young reporter, and and then I see Keith Fagan, the 49er. I think he a center at the time for the Niners, and Keith was huge. I mean, he's with his buddy, and Harper. You've seen these guys right and left, so this is nothing new for you. But he was huge. We're kind of this is in relation to Chipper Jones, and then walks in, and he's from Southern California, and I go, "Whoa, look at McGuire. Jeez." McGuire was absolutely ripped like I've never seen. I'm sure it was that stuff he was taking, but he walked right by me, and it was like I was in awe of this guy. Now, Harper, you've seen these guys, but he had pock marks on his face. I will confirm that. I don't know what was it? What was Andro, wasn't it? Wasn't it Andro? That was the big issue back then when McGuire allegedly said. But boy, some of those baseball players are massive dudes, and I don't, unless you're in front of them, you don't realize it. I guess that's the whole moral of the story here.
Yeah, we had his teammate Brian Jordan, who I played with in Atlanta my first year here in Georgia, and Brian's a big dude too. He's not as tall as McGuire, and some of these guys are. Yeah, Canseco was enormous, and say what you will, but Brian was the first to admit. He goes, steroids were not illegal. It was not a portion of the health and security of the league at that time. So one of the after effects, obviously, they changed the rules. But you better believe there's some. Albert Pujols is a huge dude. You wouldn't think it, but man, it would his from waist up, he's an enormous human being, or at least he was in his prime for obvious reasons. He was working out pretty seriously, and you don't hit 700 home runs just because you got lucky. You got to be good and talented.
Harper, how many World Series did you win with the Braves?
The Braves won 1995 was the first, and they've been bitter ever since because they had 14 different division titles, and they only won one World Series there. But yeah, that I take credit for all of it. That, Mike.
Do you have a ring? No. I actually asked how many World Series did you win with the Braves, Harper? That was my question. Who did you play for? Did you play for the Atlanta Flames? Who did you play for? The Flames?
I did not play for the Flames. There we go. We're tightening that little window in between the pencil erasers and the playing cards, and Steve Martin in the movie The Jerk.
Well, I know the Flames were very good when you were with them, so you did great. Jim Craig was your goaltender, wasn't he?
Well, we preferred Dan Bouchard and Lanny McDonald, Willie Plett, some of those guys back in the day that helped make it. And then they leave Atlanta and go win a Stanley Cup about 3 years later in Calgary.
And didn't they have another hockey team, the Atlanta? What was it?
They were the Thrashers.
Well, first of all, what a stupid name. First of all, do you not agree?
Well,
the Thrasher. What is that all about?
The thrasher is a state bird here that it ruffles through the leaves looking for worms and other edibles.
I stand corrected. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's like the University of Miami. Their logo is a hurricane, but it's really a crane. This giant crane, a bird, and there's no hurricane in it. I don't get it. Alabama with the elephant. Mike, why does Alabama have an elephant? It has nothing to do with the Crimson Tide.
I think that's a brilliant question. I think Alabama, just for Vincent's point of view, Alabama and Penn State have the two most boring uniforms in the history of college football. Can you do something with it? Just one time. I just want to see something different. Just once. They're never going to do it. I mean, Vince
from Bama? You want them to chrome out like Oregon?
Yeah, that would be nice. Just one game.
Yeah.
Just one game. I mean, you went to Colorado State. They have cool uniforms. Vincent, the Razorbacks have always had those traditional uniforms. Have either of those schools done anything different for just one darn football game, or is it, traditional Saturday and that's the way it is?
Of course, Arkansas tried some a couple of years ago, I believe, in their rival game against Texas A&M. They went all white. And I remember that was, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. But what I want to ask you, Mike, you grew up in the Bay Area around tremendous sports athletes and great teams in the 70s and 80s, right? So I always have a saying, there's something in that water in the Bay Area. When you think about Frank Robinson, Kurt Flood, Vader Pinson, Ricky Henderson, OJ, Galileo High School, Tom Brady, Len Swan, John Madden, John Robinson, Dan Fouts. And then my second question, you being around those great athletes, then the 81 to 94 San Francisco 49ers, how great was to see that team come from going bad to good with Montana, Clark, Rice, Lott. Fantastic time. Come in on those two things right there for me. First
of all, you forgot Bill Russell at University of San Francisco.
And it's Casey Jones. I'm sorry.
Right. Casey Jones. Phil Smith played for the Golden State Warriors. I don't remember him.
Yes,
I actually went to his basketball camps, and unfortunately, Phil passed away several years ago, way too young. But talking about the 49ers, those were magical memories. They're seared into my memory, my brain, my heart. I mean, to recreate what we got to experience as Niner fans. First of all, I saw John Brody play. I recall my dad taking me to a game at Kezar. I think I saw the Niners against Detroit before they moved to Candlestick. But John Brody was the guy growing up. I love that guy, and he had great problem is he was on crappy teams. So, Brody leaves, and then guys like I think I believe before Montana it was like Steve Spurrier was a quarterback, and so the years got pretty lean. And then this guy from Montana comes in, and doesn't have great success, but boy, when he got his opportunity, he lit it up. He's the pride of Notre Dame. He's a brilliant football. He has brilliant football knowledge. The way that he saw a field, the way that he could just kind of dissect defenses and read things, and he had this intuition for the game that you can't teach. And so you got him. You had the first Super Bowl, Billy Ring, Ronnie Lott. It was. I'm trying to think. Gene Washington was still on that team. I think he might have just retired. But Rice, Freddie Solomon, all these guys. It's really hard to put in words. And you know what? I know this is a show where you have to put things into words, but there was something just the San Francisco 49ers took over the city. It was no longer a baseball town. I still believe today, I don't care what anybody says, the 49ers are still San Francisco's team. They love they love the Giants, but there's something really magical. Now, sadly, the Niners are in Santa Clara. That's a whole other story. But those Niner teams, that first Super Bowl, Bill Walsh, they're known as the genius. I actually worked with his son at KGO Radio. Bill Walsh was a complex guy, but a man that was great. He was at San Jose State. Did a great job there, went to Stanford, and then the 49ers. So, I don't know if that answers your questions, but I get emotional talking about my team, and it's fun to speak about.
Hey, real quick, Mike, you said something, and I don't want to step on Vincent, but to follow up on that, you had Dick Nolan, who was the head coach when Brody was really good. You fire him. You had OJ at the end of his career. The Niners were just kind of a blah team. They might be above 500. They may not be. In my opinion, when Paul Brown was going to leave the Cincinnati Bengals and turn the reins over to one of his coordinators, it was between Sam Wyche and Bill Walsh. And when Paul Brown said, it's going to go to Sam when I retire, Bill decided then and there to leave. He didn't want to stick around. He thought he would be the Cincinnati Brown coach. And he took all of Paul Brown's offensive-minded genius and took it to San Francisco. The first couple of years, it wasn't all, ice cream and caviar and all these. It was a tough team that he had to rebuild, and Montana would help to do that. But I want to know what it was like from you if you were a reporter and talking about those first years or 2 years before the 80 team turned into the 81 Super Bowl champion. What was everybody's kind of thinking the same? We're going to get the same team, or what was in the air or in Vincent's water that made it different?
Well, I was in high school at the time, so I definitely wasn't a reporter. I definitely, I think you're correct. I think there was the fear that this is going to be the same old team. Obviously, a new mindset came into place, an offensive system, the West Coast offense, that really was predominant and took over, and everybody started using that system after a while. But I think there was a bit of wait a second, it's just the same old Niners. So it did catch people by surprise. But man, once this team started picking up success with victories, there was magic in the air. And, Bill Walsh, Sam Wyche, George Seifert came, that's down the line. But the coaches that were there were just as good as you get in the game. And I think that's something you got to keep in mind. Yes, they had players, but they also had incredible coaches.
Completely agree. And also, finally, you're going to beat the Rams. The Chuck Knox era with Los Angeles was ending. John Robinson was there. And you got to compete. When are we going to beat the Rams? When are we going to, sweep the Saints and the Falcons and start doing this instead of being a team always looking up from the bottom of the division to where you took it over. I can't imagine what it was like, but when Dwight Clark makes that catch, I think everything changed, and history would be different in San Francisco. We weren't going to be a Raiders secondary town. We were going to be our own team with our own identity. Is that part of what you experienced when they won the first title, and you were part of the high school age when it was so formidable for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I recall my I didn't get to go. I don't know why. The first parade, my mom takes my sister, who's in high school at the time, my little brother, and they have this massive, almost 1 million people in San Francisco with this parade. And I recall my mom telling me the riot police came out with the helmets and the big sticks, and my mom had to like shield the kid or our kids because the cops were going around trying to push people back. But the fervor, the excitement, the drama was unlike anything. And that includes, the Giants World Series that were just 2010 and 12 and 14, San Francisco baseball. There was just something so grand about it and so innocent that you just can't duplicate that or replicate it. And, I just think not only that, but people were hungry for a good football team. Yeah, you're right. The greatness of the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders are the Raiders. The bad boys. I'll never forget my dad taking me, I think it was 1976, to the Raiders Steeler game. To Kenny Stabler, Terry Bradshaw, and the Oakland fans with their T-shirts with the middle finger saying, "Welcome, Steeler fans." And I'm like, I was shocked. My mouth dropped. I'm like, Dad, did you see? Because I wasn't able to talk like that. But the Raider fans were the Raider team. They had their training camps in Santa Rosa, California. The things that they did up in Santa Rosa, the bars they visited, the women they conquered. I mean, I got to tell you, Niners and Raiders were like two completely different universes, and so were the fans. So the 49ers were the red and gold. We were the good guys. They were the bad guys. So I don't know if that helps you out in any way.
Oh, of course it does. I mean, the contrast, but the Raiders were, not just win baby, but they were a very good team, even in the AFL. But they were the second place team. They would always finish it. They'd lose to the Oilers or who else was in their division when they first got going. San Diego had some pretty good teams early on with the AFL only. Kansas City had some great teams, and that rivalry extended all the way through the 70s. Then they finished second to Miami. They finished second to Pittsburgh a couple of times. They finished second to Denver one of those years. They would finish second until they finally got their first world championship in 1976 with John Madden, who'd only been there for a couple of years. It just amazes me at how much good football there was, at least professionally, there in the Bay Area.
I know you guys are football guys. Important question. Do you know the original name of the Oakland Raiders?
I do not. I know that their color, they had a black helmet with a white stripe down the middle with your number, like what Alabama and Penn State have. You'll have to fill me in. I can't remember.
They actually had gold in their uniform too. They were actually known their first year. I love it. The Oakland Seniors. As in senors, the Mexican flavor.
Yes.
It was named after a contest, and I guess this was before the 1960 season. And I don't know, bad name.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say.
That you could have done a little bit better in your final selection. You might have added that one into, made it to round 4. But you shouldn't have gone to round 5 with seniors.
Right, okay, right. My final question I want to ask you. I know that you was young at the time, and I was only maybe 12 at the time. But you got to tell me, Mike, growing up in the Bay Area, Charlie O. Finley, them Oakland A's, from 72 to 74, Sal Bando, Reggie Jackson, Vita Blue, Catfish, and I'm not talking about fish, Hunter, Gene Tennis, Joe Rudy, the manager Dick Williams, Blue Moon Odom, and Bert Capaneris. I know you was a little man at the time, but take me back to what was the excitement in the Bay Area.
Well, did you mention Joe Rudy?
Yes, sir.
What about Raleigh Fingers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Again, Oakland is the second-class citizens of the Bay Area, the new kids in town, basically. Played in one of the most spectacular venues in the history of America, the Oakland Alameda Coliseum. Beautiful place. The aesthetically, just it's like being in Vegas and seeing one of these gorgeous palaces. It's a special place. At the time, it's kind of, I was a young lad, but I do recall this. There was something magical about this team again, and that's just the best kind of adjective I can find. Again, kind of the unknown, but these A's teams were powerhouses. They won 3 world championships in a row. Reggie Jackson, Mr. October, in my opinion, even though they say Ricky Henderson is the best Oakland A ever, sorry, I'll go with Reggie anytime. Reggie could do it. When Reggie got up the plate, number 44, you stopped and you watched this man swing a bat, and he could take over games. The pitching of Raleigh Fingers, Catfish Hunter, magical. What they did with playing like the Big Red Machine with the Cincinnati Reds had that incredible team with Pete Rose. By the way, Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what anybody says. Joe Morgan from Oakland. The other great teams on the Reds, Dave Concepcion. Just those games were. First of all, I got to tell you, the tickets were so cheap to go to a World Series back then. I mean, they were like $20. I think they were $25, $30. And you could get tickets. The World Series games were not sold out. It's kind of a joke. And also what I recall is that when I was in elementary school, what was so awesome, back in the day, the games came on at like 12:05. And guess what? We got to watch those games in the classroom. They let us watch those games. And come on. Would that happen today? No way. And I think it's actually really good for the game of baseball to maybe think about going back and revisiting those time zones, because kids get to watch the game. The games are over by 3 o'clock, and you don't stay up late. But there's something. Those A's teams, Charlie Finley, that guy was a circus ringleader. The way that his marketing was, the orange baseballs, the Charlie O, the jackass, the donkey. We were close to having orange baseballs in the major league. Charlie O pushed that idea. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yes, I remember 100.
It seemed a bad idea at the time, and I don't know if that's changed, but I get it. It's for visualization, you've got to have the technology to understand why he would want to do that. But he was so stinking cheap. He lost all his guys. The only one that he kept was Vita Blue, right? I mean, Mike, he didn't want to pay anybody. So Rudy goes. The first one to go was Catfish. And then he loses Reggie, which Reggie, by the way, his first year, wore number 9. Then he went to Baltimore. And I don't know if he was injured because he got hurt in the 74 World Series. He hardly even played. But then he goes to Baltimore, and then he becomes a Yankee and changes everything. Thank you, Logan, for that. How about that? Orange base. Let's
Fantastic.
hit
that. That's beautiful. That's hard. I recall that Charlie O had those baseballs along with Catfish Hunter, Reggie Jackson, Joe Rudy. They were all on the cover of Sports Illustrated back when Sports Illustrated was actually a big deal. Yep. To see your one of your teams, or Joe Montana, or whoever your idol is on the cover of Sports Illustrated was as big as it gets. At least for me, it was. It had to be the same for you guys. Sports Illustrated is no longer relevant. which is very sad. But, you talk about the magic of Charlie O. And Charlie O was from, I believe, Alabama originally.
Yes. Yes.
In Birmingham.
Right outside Birmingham.
Yeah, there's the cover right there. That is the cover. And Campy Campaneris, Reggie, Raleigh, Rudy. I mean, and not only that, how can you guys not appreciate the obscurity of these uniforms? The green, the bright yellow. They used to have yellow vests with yellow pants with the short sleeves. I mean, was there a finer baseball uniform than that? The managers, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the managers used to wear white with a green bill, so it's separated. They weren't all the same. So the managers actually had different caps, which I find pretty cool. Do you guys remember that? Any of that?
Yes, sir.
They had so many different combinations because they would wear a white jersey one day with gray pants, or they would wear yellow jersey with white pants, or green with white, or white with yellow. They had rode it. I love their newer gray jerseys with the green and gold from the McGuire Canseco era. But those right there, that's Houston Astro Circus Stovepipe Pittsburgh. It wasn't baseball. It was weird. It was marketing. It was marketing, Mike. That's the difference. And that's what Charles Finley was doing. I want to buy my gear. I want my baseball. Logan just showed you. It said the official ball of Charles O. Finley. He wanted to sell himself and didn't really want the players to do that. That's my opinion. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that he changed it in a way that was more about him and less about baseball.
Oh, 100%. I agree with that. I wonder if Logan can pull up a Vita Blue uniform, Vita Blue in the all yellow uniform with the yellow jersey. It's like the half shirt here with the sleeves. And it was the long baseball sleeve, because that uniform to me was like, and they had the yellow pants. Vita Blue, by the way, and I do want to mention something about him. What a class act, beautiful human being. I got to tell you, I had the pleasure of meeting Vita in Napa at Coppola's Winery. There was a bit there it is. There's the uniform. I love that thing. But I met him at a benefit at the Coppola Winery in Napa, the great movie director. And you want to talk about being humbled. I said, "Hey, how are you, Vita? Nice to meet you." He's like, "Hey, Mike, Mike." He goes, Mike McDowd. He goes, "Hey, man, I know who you are." I'm all, "What? What are you talking about? You know who I am." He goes, "Yeah, I see your face on the billboards around town." And when I was doing local news, my face was on the dang side of buses. Like I said, I'm a big deal, guys. I'm a big deal, and I'm huge. Yeah. I'm huge in my own mind. And but for Vita Blue to say, "I know who you are," I'm like, "What are you talking about? I know who you are." I mean, it was probably one of the most humbling moments I ever had, because nobody knows who the hell I am. Nobody recognizes me, and that's not why I do it. But to have the great Vita Blue, one of my childhood heroes, even acknowledge me and be nice to me and have an incredible conversation, one of the thrills of my life.
Yeah, I can imagine. That'd be awesome. Now, look at that glove. That's what I remember about Vita. He had the biggest glove of any pitcher. I think he took two gloves and stitched them together. That thing is enormous. There are center fielders that wish they had a glove that big.
Yes, the glove. Look at the beauty of that uniform. You got the yellow pants, you got the yellow socks, the green stirrups, the green long sleeves. I'm sorry, guys, they don't make them like that anymore. And I would love to see the A's come out with that. Well, and furthermore, it's absolutely diabolical that the A's are going to frickin' Vegas. I hate Vegas. They've stolen all of our Bay Area teams. The Raiders, that's another. Oakland is by far the biggest, and I'm not going to be politically correct, by far one of the greatest disappointments in the history of American sports. We've lost 3 professional sports franchises. The Golden State Warriors to San Francisco, play in this gorgeous Chase Center. The Los Angeles Oakland Raiders hold on. The Oakland Raiders, the Los Angeles Raiders, back to the Oakland Raiders, and now the Vegas Raiders, and soon to be the Sacramento A's via the Los Angeles or the Las Vegas A's. So, the environment of Oakland, California is so bad. And I don't know if you guys know this, it's an important conversation. The Oakland Raiders the Oakland Athletics had a opportunity to stay in Oakland. It was actually, it took a decade or longer because all the environmental garbage. They actually had a nice stadium. You could see the renderings, the drawings. It really looked nice. It was going to be on the waterfront in the near Jack London Square. But the owner of the A's, whatever his name is, I don't care. Nobody likes them. He is such an arrogant SOB that he made the final move to move this team to Las Vegas. And it's really sad because Oakland, the baseball fans, and really all the fans, they're very loyal fans. The baseball fans in particular, the out in left field, they would have a drum section, big flags waving back and forth. It was like you were at a college, baseball or basketball or college football game. And they don't deserve that. But so shame on the city of Oakland. And I could go on and on, but I won't.
Well, one of the things I would think, Mike, is the Raiders had complained for decades. I need a new stadium. I need it was built in, it wasn't the first year that they were in it, 70 or 71, or was it a little bit earlier than that? And secondly, it's the fact that they couldn't come up with any sort of an agreement to put the amount of money necessary to build even a smaller but more of a contemporary new stadium. That's just one of the things that killed the deal. It was a deal breaker to where they wouldn't have a place to play.
Well, it'd be like Vincent's team, Arkansas, saying like, let's go on over to Tennessee and play football there now. It's disgusting. Oh, shame on Oakland. They're a bunch of ne'er-do-wells. I mean, the fact that they couldn't get a stadium built, are you kidding me? It's horrific. I mean, it really does get to my heart because I love listen, I wasn't I respected the Raiders. I admired them. You just had to. You had to. The Oakland A's, I was a Giants fan, but the Oakland A's, same deal. You had to respect them. You had to love them because of what they accomplished. And, of course, the Warriors. I'm a Warriors fan, and they're still the Warriors, but they're back to the San Francisco Warriors. But the fact that they could not get a stadium built, you're looking at that stadium right now. How do you even articulate that? How do you even – I mean, I guess they just don't care ultimately. There's no excuse. I don't have an excuse. It's a sad, sad commentary on the city of Oakland, a quote proud city that has horrific problems, but it's hard to get my mind wrapped around it because losing one professional team, okay, it's been done before. Losing two. Don't think I've heard of that. Losing three, that's the greatest sports travesty in the history of American sports and cities combined. If you guys have a better example, please let me know.
No, we've lost the same hockey team. Well, hockey here twice. We haven't lost it 3 times yet, so we're close here in Atlanta, but not quite the same. One of the things, and thank you for getting that picture up, Logan, that's a preseason game. I can tell for 2 reasons. One is the paint, the sidelines are not completely chalked in, and obviously the infield at the 50-yard line where second base is, that hasn't been grassed yet, and that's fine. I'm just saying multi-use stadiums, which were enormous back in the late 60s and early 70s, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, San Diego, Oakland, even Shea Stadium in New York were all multi-use stadiums. Football, basketball, you roll the seats away, you've got a baseball stadium. You push them out, you change the configuration, you add goalposts, you can play football. What would Oakland need? Because the rivalry between Al Davis and Pete Rozelle was genuine and real. They never hosted a Super Bowl. The LA Coliseum had the first and fourth, fifth, sixth. They've had several. San Diego's had several. San Francisco has had several. They never had one in Oakland. What would it take for Oakland to get a team to come back? They're not going to spend the money, but in our wishes and dreams, what would it take, in your opinion, to be able to retain the Raiders and get them back, along with the A's, and maybe even build in the same property a place where basketball can be played? Where did they miss it?
Where do they miss it? Well, I mean, first of all, I don't think I don't think any teams are coming back to Oakland. They'd have to destroy the stadium, build it, rebuild it. They missed the mark. They had their time. And sadly, I don't think anybody's going to come back. Why would they? The fact that your team moves to Los Angeles, where the majority of your fans are virtually out of San Quentin and LA gangs, which that was a rough place, man. The LA Coliseum, holy cow! Talk about watching a football game. You did not want to bring your significant your women or your children there. It was that bad. I thought the Coliseum in Oakland was bad, but boy, listen, I'm an optimistic guy. I like to have hope in life, because without hope, you have nothing. But for them, I'm just shaking my head. I see this Coliseum, and it still looks like a piece of garbage, and it really was. But there was something about it. It was their piece of garbage, and just like Candlestick, it was a lousy place, so we loved it. It was our Candlestick. I mean, the new stadium down in Santa Clara, it's all right. But it's for corporate mucky mucks and the elite fan. But a brand new vision, absolute new leadership within the city of Oakland would have to take place. Some incredible visionaries would have to merge together and create something so innovative and so unique, maybe like a stadium, a football stadium, a baseball stadium, and then perhaps like an area that you build condominiums, apartments, you create shopping district. That's the only way I see it. And where the current location is in Oakland, where this Coliseum is, that area is rough, gentlemen. That area is rough. Mm-hmm. It's not a place where you go walking your dog at nighttime and bring the kitties along as well. So I pray it happens at this point in time. I just don't think it's. I don't see it on the horizon, but I hope I'm wrong.
Well, to me, they had numerous opportunities and chances, and I'm almost thinking that the board of directors within the government, the representatives of that area, were going, Al's never going to leave. They're never going to go. We'll subdue him. We'll give him extra money for Wi-Fi or some other trinkets to keep him around for another few years, and we'll renegotiate again. But we're not going to do it. One, we may not be able to afford it, and two is they're never going to leave, because Oakland is the team. It's the glue that binds everything together in that area. But guess what? They changed it. Go ahead. I'm sorry, interrupted you.
No, they changed. They changed. You. First of all, I want to talk about Al Davis. He was an interesting guy. And before I talk about Al Davis, I know we did a big pre-audio air check. I am wearing a Cal shirt. It says CAL, and I want to make sure I get this on the live version of our show. Here we go. Yeah. Cal stands for constantly, always losing. Okay, I just want to get that out of the way. But it's kind of a cool shirt, though, Harper. Even you got to admit it. I mean, it doesn't say CSU. It says CAL. I just had to get that out of the way, because you guys really blew it. We did this incredible air check. I told great stories before I even knew we were actually. And I know typically when we're live on the air, but I'm sorry, I made a jackass out of myself. I mean, I got a great story about an admiral I had in my own sports talk show that ran Top Gun. I told you about. I couldn't tell you about that one. So maybe we get to talk about that also. Al Davis, interesting guy. I personally thought he was a jackass. I really did. I didn't think he was very nice. I didn't think he was very. Yeah, I honestly, my encounters with him. However, a great guy that I've worked with, he was a news anchor. His name is Curtis Kim. Fabulous guy. His wife was a nurse in Oakland at one of the hospitals. And I know when Al came in to bring his wife at the hospital, and she was a pre-checkup nurse, he was fabulous with them. So I think there was two sides of Al Davis. There was the private side, and then there was the public persona. And I'm going to tell you something really funny. I got my dad when I was a sports director at a TV station, I got my dad a press pass to go to the Tennessee Titans, Oakland Raiders, the last great championship game played at the Oakland Coliseum. And I got my dad a press pass to come in. I said, hey, he's part of my show. And Al Davis just looked at my dad. My dad was an older guy at the time. Like, who is this guy? What is he doing in my locker room? So I felt that vibe. There was something kind of just about him. But again, that was his public persona. I don't know the man personally, but he wasn't like, hey, how you doing, Mike? Oh, who's this? This is my dad. Al, would you like to meet him? Oh, I'd love to meet him. He wasn't that kind of guy. And, when it's all said and done in life, how do you treat people? To me, that's all that matters. So what? You're the owner of the Oakland Raiders. I mean, I don't know. Are the Oakland Raiders going to get you to heaven? I don't think so. So that's my little scoop on Al Davis. Now, was Al Davis a visionary? Was he a superb owner? Did he have? But yes. But at the same time, Harper, you can and Vincent, you can actually confirm this. If you look at the Raiders overall, they're not one of the all-time great organizations. I don't care. Their record shows it. They've only won a few Super Bowls, but yet they want you to believe they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. 4,
3,
but they're still not 3. That last one in 2001, 2002 against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that was a disaster. I was there in San Diego covering the thing, and the Raiders are a good organization. Today, I think are they good? Would Al Davis be happy? He got his nice golden palace built. Other than that, the Raiders are somewhat of a bit of a joke in my opinion. You guys agree? You guys disagree?
I met Al in Beverly Hills. I was on a date with my wife, and he walked out of a store. My wife and I were going for a walk. No big deal. We had gone to dinner someplace, and he walks out with his wife. And I said, hey, Coach, nice to meet you. Have a nice evening. And he walked the other way. He didn't, whatever. And my wife says to me, who is that? I go, that's just the owner of the Raiders. That's all. And she didn't know him, but I recognized him immediately. That's about how he looked. The picture that Logan has right now. The glasses, the pearlish eyeglass necklace holder that he would have that your grandmother would wear, the hair 4 pieces flopping around. He had the same image for 40 years easily. Right, Mike? I mean, he wore the same clothes every day. And some of the stuff was probably when it was made in the 60s. Very aloof individual. And I would imagine if you were on his good side, it was a very good side to be on. But if you were not on his good side, I don't know if you ever get out of that doghouse.
But when you think,
you're
about,
right. You're right.
Go, Vincent.
You're right.
But when you think about the Oakland Raiders, I have to say, from an organization, you got to get them the class of elite because there ain't too many organizations that won Super Bowls. But when you think about Oakland on a national scale, you think about their fans. You think about ruthless. You think about uncontrollable. You think about mean. And when I think of the Raiders and Al Davis, I'm always going to think about that young man that played at Ohio State, since we talk about history, that they called the assassin, Jack Tatum. Toughness with the Raiders organization. Granted, they might not win a lot of championships, but I guarantee you, and Harper, I'm assuming that you played in some games against the Raiders. they were going to let you know that we are here. Get ready to be physical today. That's what I love about Al Davis and the Raiders.
I agree with you wholeheartedly on the Raiders of the 70s and the early 80s. Stick with me for just a moment. Then 85, 89, 92, they weren't the same team. They had the same aura. They had the same, you better fear us, but they didn't play the same way. That's the part that I find is the very interesting disconnect with that. That guy right there that you're looking at, you're absolutely right. Michael Haynes, Willie Brown, Phil Villapiano, Ted Hendricks. The list can go on and on and on. You knew who everybody was. Marv Hubbard, I knew who Marv Hubbard was. Anyone who was a fan of football would recognize because of the success that they had. But right about the time Howie started getting older, when you got Todd Marinovich, it's not the same. And they had to work harder, but they didn't work harder. That's the thing about it. They went on their perception as opposed to their actual physical talent that they had on that day that they were playing against you. Go ahead.
But Marcus, go ahead.
Also, don't forget the legend, because you're gonna make some Raider fans mad. The man that came out of Miami, Jim Otto. To you, Mr. Mike.
Jim Otto, yes.
No, all due respect to all of them, Mike, real quick. But when you've got a fan who's got knives and cones sticking out of his shoulder pads and the face paint and all that, that is awesome. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying when that guy's there and he's screaming at you and the score is 52-7 and you're losing, it doesn't have the same impact. I think we can all agree on that. That's the part of political correctness that I would say you can do whatever you can enjoy your team, and I hope that you do. But the results that the Raiders have had, that they've been in a lull for a few years, and they're in one right now while they're in Vegas. Mike, please forgive me. I interrupted you a couple times.
Well, I mean, Harper, you're interrupting me all day. It's good, but that's okay. I'm a guest on your show. That's cool. I'm sorry if I've interrupted you, Harper, and you, Vincent, as well. The greatness of the Raiders. Let's not also forget, and Harper, was Marcus Allen really the last great running back? Was he on those glory teams? It was what, early 80s? Marcus Allen?
Of course, but are you talking about with the Raiders?
Yeah. Was he 80?
Can we just go a little bit further and say Bo Jackson was a deal breaker? I mean, he was an amazing talent and went right into the 88, 89, 90 season when he got hurt.
So you never played against Marcus Allen, did you?
No, I'm a few years older than Marcus. Younger than Marcus. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Did you ever know a guy by the name of Todd Spencer, who was his blocking back at USC?
I do. Yes.
Good friend of mine. Yeah, he's a great guy. Todd played for the Chargers. I know he played for the Steelers. And
he had a nice career.
You guys want to have a great guest on your show sometime? I want you to have my friend Todd Spencer. I met Todd Spencer at my church on a Sunday, and he played in the NFL. But Todd was taking care of an elderly gentleman with dementia. And this guy has a heart of gold. He's a caregiver, and he also really helps kids in the Richmond, California area, which is a very rough area where he grew up. And he mentors these young kids. He's got about 3. He actually has some young kids as well as a father. But Todd Spencer is one of the great stories. He's probably the greatest running back to ever come out of El Cerrito High School in Richmond, California. And he was a very good running back at USC as well. But I'm going to get you guys connected with him. He's a super humble guy and just one of the great human beings in life you're ever going to meet.
Well, if he blocked for Marcus, I'm sure there were numerous occasions where he only felt a brush by, and next thing you know, Marcus is 8 to 10 to 12 yards down the field, and a safety has to catch him. That's a great feeling for an offensive lineman, a tight end, or a fullback who's blocking for a guy like that.
Yes, and furthermore, Harper and Vincent, I want you to chime in on this. What I didn't realize is our friend Harper, who's, I guess that's color for Georgia State. Is that correct?
I am the color analyst for Georgia State. Yes, I am.
Hold on. What do you guys call the Georgia State? What do you guys?
They're Panthers.
Yeah.
The Panthers. You should know that.
I should know that, and I'm a little disappointed that Vincent didn't even have me on when I was the voice of the Valdosta State Blazers last year. That's a story I want to tell you about. But in my humble opinion, and I'm really curious to get both of your thoughts on this one. Perhaps the greatest NFL uniform is, drum roll, the San Diego Chargers, the white helmets, the beautiful, the numbers on the side, the bolt, the powder blue uniforms, and those pants. I mean, any thoughts on that? I know it's a random statement, but I got to ask the question because when I say that to people, most people agree with me. Those old San Diego Charger uniforms, they're kind of somewhat wearing them today, are, I don't know. There's just something. There's a magical allure about them. Agree, disagree? Where are we going on this one?
Vincent, you go first.
Well, of course, I got to agree with you, Big Mike, because at the end of the day, Lance Allworth, Hall of Famer, where did he go to school at? Pig Suey, baby, the University of Arkansas. So, of course, I'm agree with you. As the Chargers having the best uniform of all times. Do I need to call the Hogs? Of course.
Okay. And Harper, I'm going to guess you probably played, and I'm going to probably piss you off, but did you play with them when they had those damn blue uniforms, the blue helmets? I mean, look at those things.
San
That's
Diego?
art. Yeah.
I was going to say, now that one,
That's beautiful.
The first picture I would remember of a player in that uniform was of Johnny Unitas. Do you remember that Johnny Unitas ended his career in San Diego? There's a picture of him in the end zone in a pregame where John Hadel, number 21, was taking over for Johnny. He couldn't move anymore. He couldn't run. And Unitas looks small in this uniform. He looks like a little kid. The pants don't fit right. You know, he had the hip pads. There's a butt pad. And it's from behind, and he looks old and weak in that very same uniform. But the stripes down, I don't mind the stripe, the lightning bolt along the side of the uniform. I thought that was really cool. That was more of the Dan Fouts, but they went with a darker blue back in that era.
Yes, and did you wear those things?
There we go. Look at that. Look at that pic. Okay, so the number is too big. The one is too far apart from the 9. Other than that, it's fantastic. It's awesome. But who did the number? Who stitched that together? What woman would stitch that? No man would ever allow anyone to stitch those two numbers that far apart. And she put the numbers that should be on the back of the uniform on the front. That's what I'm saying. I'm sticking to that answer.
Hold on, but you did play for the Chargers for a while, briefly, right?
I was a recharger during the strike year. Yes, absolutely. Right.
Okay. Now, didn't you wear those? Again, I don't mean to be offensive to you, but I'm pretty sure you're not going to be offended. Those hideous blue helmets with the navy blue. I hated those uniforms.
It was a navy blue helmet with a gold stripe, and it had a white outline around with no number, like that one right there. That's Johnny Unitas.
Yep, that's it.
What's different is Unitas used to throw. There's a picture when he was in Baltimore, and his left arm is completely straight, and it's pointing down the field towards where he was going to throw, probably to Raymond Berry or someone like that. The jersey color was darker. It was a navy, gold number, a different sleeve patch, and then they had white pants with a blue, a real thick blue stripe, kind of like what the Steelers had. Just different variation. There you go. That's look at that. That's 1958 all over again. Classic football.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, but did you play with Dan Fouts?
They struck that year, and Dan was on strike, so I didn't play with him. We had Rick Neuheisel, the UCLA quarterback, who was during that time, and then I was let go after the strike ended. I think Rick got to stay for a couple of weeks in case Dan wasn't ready. But no, I never played with Dan. I played against him a few times, but not with him.
Dan's a class act. I'm pretty sure you could probably confirm that.
Absolutely.
Very
Yeah.
nice, very nice guy. Very nice guy. A friend of mine is a driver here in Jacksonville. He was one of his clients, and Dan was amazing. In fact, I can tell you this thing: Dan Faust went to the same school as Jared Goff, Marin Catholic High School in the Bay Area. He later transferred to St. Ignatius High School in San Francisco, where he finished his career. I had the absolute pleasure of working with his dad, Bob Fouts. Bob Fouts was a great sportscaster for ABC Sports. And I got to know Bob when I covered the Golden State Warriors. It was Run TMC, Hardaway, Mullen, Sherman, all that crew. It was, what's his name, from Michigan, the young kid who came in. And what's his name, Vincent?
Chris Webber.
Chris Webber, yeah. So it was Run TMC. And Bob Fouts just kind of talked to me normally, and he happened to mention, he's like, we were just talking about life. He's like, oh, my son played football. I said, oh yeah. He's like, and I started laughing. Oh yeah, was he pretty good? He's all, yeah, he's pretty good. Where did he play high school? Oh, St. Ignatius. I said, oh really? Did he play college ball? Yeah, he played at Oregon. I said, oh, well, he was pretty good. Did he get any other love? And he goes, yeah, a little bit. What's your son's name? He's like, Dan. I'm all, Dan Fouts.
Yeah.
So it was pretty odd. There it is, Run TMC. I can tell you this right now. Hardaway and Mullen, I got to know. Those are great dudes. Hardaway was funny, man. He pulled me aside, but hey, man, listen, after the game, just like interview me for a few minutes, get a few questions in, then, let me go. But he was totally cool. We loved each other. And then Mullen, I was Mullen was a couple years older than me, but I'll never forget at Christmas time. He pulls me aside one-on-one in the locker room. He's like, hey, man, what's your name? He goes, I see you here all the time. I'm Chris. Oh, yeah, Mike. He goes, da-da-da. He goes, you're a reporter. He goes, you're a reporter. I said, yeah. He goes, who you work for? I go, KGO Radio. He's, oh, wow. That's pretty good stuff. That's a great station. And we started like talking. And I think that was when he soon got over his, he had an alcohol problem for a while. And he was a real down-to-earth, nice guy. And he's a super good guy today. He lives near my sister in the Bay Area, which is in Danville, California. And Mullen, those are great people. Those are great guys. And that was a special era. The head coach was Don Nelson, who was a complete jackass. You remember Nelly? I got to tell you, he gave me no love. He was not nice to me.
As a player, he won 7-8 titles when he was a part of the Celtics, but as a coach, he just kept moving from one place to another and couldn't put it all together. Dallas, I know there. Was he in Denver for a little while also, aside from with the Golden State Warriors?
Well, let me tell you something. No, Don Nelly Nelson was a guy that went from one team to another. He was an unbelievable player, but as a coach, he was an absolute bum. I tell you what, he really screwed over Hardaway, screwed over Mullen. I mean, this guy, he was so rude to me. It was unbelievable, baby. There's my Dickie V. So there's my answer to that one. Was that okay? I mean, yeah. It gets better, man. It gets better.
Hey, I got one question for you before we move on from Fouts. Did Dan Fouts have a full mustache and beard in high school, just like he has ever since he must have? That's the only vision I have of Dan, is that he always
actually had what you don't know is that he was actually a backup singer with ZZ Top. So at the time, he had a big long beard all the way down here.
You're right. I did not know that. That's amazing. And he had to trim it up just to be able to play in the NFL. I get it now. That makes a lot of sense.
You didn't see that story on TMZ?
I must have missed that. No, that one slipped by.
And a very profound question for Vincent Turner, who finally has me on his damn show after, I don't know, more than a decade. Vincent, I'm honored, by the way. I'm honored. Thank you. I just want to know when you're going to get in that living room and tickle those ivories and play us a little music, my friend.
Well, I'm not a musician, but I'm a guy that loves music from years of the 60s, the 70s, and 80s. And as I tell the story here on 100 Yards of Football, everyone knows that Stack Records is out of Memphis, Tennessee. It was one of the most powerful record companies back in the day. Well, the greatest blessing that I have at 6 years old, and shout outs to my hometown in 901, the guy that wrote all the original music is still living, David Porter. The other guy who's the other writer for that company was Isaac Hayes.
Really?
And the majority of music they wrote was Otis Redding. So I've been a music guy all my life. But no, I can't play no instruments. I can play a little drums. But when it's all said and done, I love music from all facets.
Well, you're
Rock,
Vince.
country, jazz, anything. There they go,
like
Sam and Dave. There they go. I'm a soul man.
Yeah. Sing it, Vincent. Sing it proud.
All right.
I love it, man. I love Vincent.
I'm a soul man. Da-da-da, da-da. I'm a soul man.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. You'll love this. When I went to Cleveland, Mississippi last year, town of about 14,000. I spent the night there. It was actually at Christmas time. It was like a Hallmark movie. The downtown area is really beautiful. But I passed through the town of the great B.B. King from Indianola, Mississippi.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he has a museum there. And then in Cleveland, Mississippi, believe it or not, they have the Grammy Hall of Fame there. I don't know if you knew that, but actually the Grammy Award Hall of Fame is in Cleveland, Mississippi, because of the Delta Blues and all that music in the Mississippi, region. But the blues is obviously a big deal, and that's the reason it's there. They had a picture of Elvis, Johnny Cash, Beyonce outside. Beautiful building, this museum. Anyways, it's just further knowledge that you need to find out on 100 yards of football.
If I could say one other nugget, where you was at is about 80 miles from Drew, Mississippi, right? Which is in the Delta. You know who's from Drew, Mississippi? His two sons just. Yeah, there you go. But you know who's from Drew, Mississippi? Drew now, D-R-E-W. The legend. He go by the name of Archie Manning.
I mean, look it.
The mic has dropped. The mic has dropped.
Yeah, let me tell you. I recall seeing Archie Manning play as a kid. I'm sure you all did, but I love that Manning family. Those his kids are some of the. I don't know them personally, but I got to tell you, they got to be some of the nicest people around. If they're not, they have a great PR agent who has absolutely taught them well. But those Manning boys are funny. They're personable. And I don't know if you guys ever met them, but I mean, those guys are just great for the game of football.
I played against Peyton his rookie year in the NFL when I was in Baltimore. A lot bigger than I thought. You're really tall. You see them all there. They're all, this is football royalty we're talking about, right? The Matthews family, the Slaters now. We talked about that, Vincent. The Gathers family. There's a few that have had a second or even a third generation family member that be a part of it. They're smart, but you're right. They're funny. They're able to poke fun at themselves in a way that they're not offended by it. They've won great games. They've lost great games, and their ability to be humble in all of that is the one contributing factor that I find most appealing about them. Some people may dislike. It doesn't matter. But they certainly have had their profound impact on the history of the NFL, and I think it's great.
Well, I mean, you go ahead, Vincent.
And I think one reason because their family has been so great, and I want to give Archie Manning a lot of credit. If you remember when Archie was a junior at Ole Miss, his father committed suicide. That's the reason. Huge.
Wow. Well, I think you got to give credit to Archie's wife too, their mother. She must be a special lady. I mean, she's kept those boys in line, and they're great ambassadors. Who is the third Manning brother? Apparently, he was one of the most. I forget his name. You guys know his name.
Cooper, and he was
Cooper.
the most talented.
But what he was a receiver.
Yeah,
Yep.
he played quarterback. His first 2 years, they went to Newman High School in New Orleans, which is a prestigious private school. But when Peyton got there as a sophomore, he moved to receiver. He was, I think, maybe the best receiver in the state of Louisiana. Went to Ole Miss as a freshman. They found out he had a spinal type situation. He couldn't play football no more. But by far, he was the best athlete. It was no question about it. That's why his son Arch is doing his thing down at the University of Texas. By the way, go Horns.
Did you say go Horns?
Yeah,
I'm just giving respect to Arch Manning in the Manning family.
he did. He did say it.
That's pretty shocking for an Arkansas guy to say that. So I'm a little surprised.
Thank you. He does it all the time. I can't see how a pig suey guy would ever do this. Now he won't do that, but that he just does it. It's amazing.
It's like me, I'm a Notre Dame guy at heart, and I'm like the Rudy. That's like me saying, "Hey, fight on, go Trojans, SC baby, all the way." Which I know that I know that the Black Knight out of Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks has a little love for the Trojans and also for the Irish. But guys, we haven't talked about the great demise of West Coast football and why I'm embarrassed to say that. The West Coast is no longer what it once was. The Pac-12 is. I almost want to have tears. What's happened to that? The Pac-12 is gone. The best of the best high school football players all come to the SEC. They all come to the ACC and
Big Ten. Now the Big Ten. Yep.
And the Big Ten, and it's like how the West, not how the West was won. It was how the West was lost. The latest documentary coming up soon on 100 yards of football. But boy, that's a subject too. We could talk about that. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, give your perspective on that though, Mike. Narrow this down for us. Is there a specific reason? Is it a group of one thing? Continually traveling through time after another? Can you put a pinpoint next to something and go, I think that's where this began?
Well, I can attest that thanks to the greatness of the great Steve Travers who you have on your show, and because of Steve Travers and constantly bothering Vincent and Harper, I'm on your show. The show is called 100 Yards of Football. It's one of the greatest shows in the history of mankind. I can see Harper very serious. I like that. Like a true Notre Dame Black Knight, excuse me.
Hold on, I'm paying homage right now to the Pac-6 that's on there, and the team that's furthest east in the Pacific. In the Pacific 6 is probably the most important one to be there right now.
The 15th ranked Boise State University Broncos. Their running back is up for the Heisman Trophy. He's tearing it up. I actually had in my show, which I hope to plug because I want people to come over and see how great I do in my own personal show. That's not called 100 Yards of Football, but I do like 100 Yards of Football. It's a fabulous show. I'm enjoying my time here. By the way, you got my address to send that check.
I'm filling that out right as we speak.
I had on a kid by actually the father of his name is Chris Fulton. Chris Fulton was the 1983 Bay Area Basketball Player of the Year. He beat out Brian Shaw and Kevin Johnson. He played at the University of Portland, the University of Utah. Why am I saying this for people in our vast audience? His son is the backup quarterback, Colt Fulton, on the number 15th ranked Boise State Broncos. They're in the conversation for a college football playoff opportunity. Colt Fulton is a great young man. He's not getting a lot of playing time, but it's interesting to talk to a guy. We're talking about the West. So anyways, just had to throw in that bit for the Fulton family because the Broncos are the 15th best team out of the West. The West is we have Oregon. I forgot about them. Oregon's going to win the national title, right, Vincent? I know you're a big Duck fan.
No, I'm not going to say that today. I think you lost your mind. You better realize it's go dogs down south, baby. Go
Well, I
dogs.
mean, there he is, Colt Fulton. Yeah, great young man.
Purpose hard, baby.
Um, Three-time All Academic Mountain West player. Love this kid. So what are we talking? We're talking about the West. So Stephen Travers, who is a guest on your show often, we've talked about this, tried to break it down. I think Vincent and I have even talked about this matter. What's going on with the West? We feel a couple things that kids in the West have been, and Harper, you're the perfect guy to talk to. Have kids in the West become softer? Are they not as, do they not have that I don't want to say work ethic, but maybe because the climate of the West, a lot of areas in the West, they wanted to drop football. It's too tough, concussions, etc. So I think there's a lot of that mentality. Just, a lot of a lot of parents don't want their kids to play football. Have kids become softer? I mean, you don't got the kids growing up on the farms in the Midwest, freezing cold, the zeal and zest for football in the South is unmatched. I think that's one of the things that they talk about, the overall mentality, the psychology of kids in the West. And at one point, the West was the place to play football, from USC, UCLA, Stanford, Washington. That's just one nugget. But Steve Travers and I have talked about that. We think that there's a certain mentality within kids from the West. Now, maybe that's too much of a broad brush, but any thoughts on that? I'm curious to get your opinions.
Hey, I'm going to go very basic with this. If you go all the way back, I'm going to go back history, back in time. You go to the 60s, you go to the 70s. The black athlete was not going to Southern schools. They was coming out there to the West Coast. But now what you have is that there's better football down south. The programs are better. The high school programs are better. But most of all, the West Coast is not getting them quality black athletes no more. So now when you talk about the black athlete, you're talking about that speed. You're talking about the 4-1. The only player that I can compare that's out on the West Coast is Travis Hunter. And if it weren't for Dion, he'd be playing football down south. No disrespect, Mike. I'm just going to give it to you like this. There's better football players down in the South, baby, because they got better programs. Harper has had 2 sons and went to Bruford, quote unquote, one of the top 5 high school programs right now in America. Bruford, their quarterback, what's his name, Harper? Dalen Raiola, starting for Nebraska. The bottom line, the West Coast, y'all not producing no players, baby, on the high level. So it ain't about being tough. The talent level is shifted. It's always been in the South. The South has always had the best athletes, from Texas to Mississippi to Alabama, but they was going to the SWAC schools. But the West Coast opened the doors for them to come out there. Clarence Davis. That's why I love Mr. Travers with his book, One Nation, Two Teams. Because Clarence Davis was born in Birmingham. They had a linebacker that went to USC. Remember his name? His name was All-American when I was in high school, Chip Banks. Remember him? Where is he from? Oh, he down the road from Augusta, Georgia. Very simple, man. Y'all got to get some coach out there that can bring them athletes from the South up there. That's the bottom line. Now, y'all do have the #1 recruit, but he's look like he's wavering, that I saw 2 weeks ago where I live at here in Metro Atlanta, Georgia, in Douglasville, Georgia. His name is Juju Lewis. He's the #1 quarterback recruit. Right now, he's committed to USC, but he's wavering a little bit. But I think for USC to turn their program, they got to come down south and hire an assistant from one of these schools down here in the SEC. Now, that's a guy on the Tennessee staff named Tim Banks, the defensive coordinator, that's doing an outstanding job. I think he'd be an excellent coach at USC because he could come down here and get players. And, Mike, you in Jacksonville, Florida. What's the high school there? Raines. Harold
Raines is
Carmichael.
good. Ed
Yeah,
Raines is good. Ed White is good. Trinity Christian is good out here. Yeah, there's definitely some good. It's funny. I was watching high school football on one of the secondary channels out here, but I mean, high school football is big now. Now, with that said, and I can see that Harper is very, very serious. He's got his game face on, like he's playing in the NFL still. And when you go to Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks, that's just the way it is. You're a champion through, in and out in every way. I get it. But one of the things that has to be taught, you say the best high school football is played in the South. Okay, yeah, probably. But I mean, let me name two teams right now, and Harper can actually extrapolate this a little further. De La Salle, the winningest program in the history of high school football, did not lose a game for 13 years. My nephew plays rugby for him, had to say that. Modern Day, still winning, won a national championship. So there's still really good high school. John Bosco, who else is out there, Harper? That there's still really good high school being played within California. And let's face it, the Pac-12, the Conference of Champions, you never can take that away from them. They were the best in football one time, the best baseball, the best basketball. All of it's pretty much gone away now. Harper, what do you think?
Well, I agree with both of your points, and I'm sure there are folks in Texas that are saying that Florida and maybe California is also a place where you could recruit a kid. You could throw a dart at a map if you're blindfolded and find a couple of kids that could play at your program. So I don't disagree with either point, but I'm going to add something different. You got to have mom, and I'm going to talk about woke politics in the West is a little bit different than it is in other places. And if mom doesn't want to play and she doesn't think you should play, that might change your ability to do so. And the second thing that we haven't talked about yet is money. The economics of the game has changed dramatically. And I believe that SC and UCLA opened the door when, and I'm going to just have a little fun here, guys. The athletic director at USC and the president or chancellor of the school were talking one day. Hey, Bob. Hey, Fred. Hey, I was thinking, how do you think we might be able to earn more revenue with our athletic department? Well, I've got an idea, Fred, but you may not like it. Well, what is it, Bob? We leave and go to the Big Ten or the SEC. The network money alone is going to be about $30 million increase because nobody's watching the games out in California. They're not doing it. Am I wrong, Mike?
No, I mean, look, you nailed it. I mean, it's disgusting. I get emotional about it. I get fired, but I'm not going to yell like a little 2-year-old or, pull a little Hollywood Johnny. I don't know. Don't get me started with Hollywood. That's one of the things that USC and UCLA have blown it in the era of the, new opportunity for college kids to make money. SC has not capitalized. Who does not want to go to school in Hollywood, Tinseltown, motion pictures, the glitz, the glamour, the women? I mean, I don't get it. But so they've alienated the West Coast. I mean, honestly, do I care about USC Rutgers? Nope. Do I care about Cal playing Wake Forest? Nope. Stanford just got whooped by some horrible team the other day. The Demon Deacons. I mean, but I think what you said, yeah. If mom. First of all, there was a movement to, I don't want to say eradicate football, but Vincent, man, when you start telling everybody that football is a dangerous, dangerous game, don't let your kids play it. Concussions. I mean, case in point, the backup quarterback of Michigan just retired because of concussions. So there is some serious concern, but the West is a strange place. The Bay Area, Los Angeles, is not the same great state that Harper and I grew up in. It's just not. People are not friendly anymore. They don't say hello. That's what I love about being in the South. People say, hey, good morning. How are you? People say, God bless you. Have a great day. That's like music to my ears. It's like, no, God bless you. I mean, and I know about bless your heart. I'm not going to get into that, but I think what Harper said is right on the money, man. I just think there is a mentality of football bad, and it's kind of started within some. It's almost like to demasculinize the male race. I think there's some truth to that. To play football or sports, you have to have masculinity. You have to be strong. You have to be physically strong. You have to be mentally strong. And you know what that does? That builds character for life. That builds champions. You take that into the real world and you apply what you've learned. And we can't lose sight of that. I think that's critical. So what Harper said is correct, but there's so many variables that go along. And you cannot get rid of the great game of football, okay? It's BS. Is football America's game right now? It is. It is. And we for the love of God, please, West Coast, wake up. We need you. It's good for the game. It's like saying the Dodgers, they're big money market making teams. Well, guess what? They're also great for the game of baseball. As I'm getting a call here from my co-host of my show called Sports Econ 101, proudly heard on iHeartRadio and what else? Sports Byline USA. I'm sorry, I had to get a plug in. But we talk about a guy who has ADD. That's me. So I'm all over the place. But Harper, to your point, you're right on the money. Vincent, you're right on the money. And it's a fascinating conversation.
Yeah, I completely agree that it's changing and evolving. And sometimes I believe that the officials that are in charge of it are shooting the gun off, asking everybody to run around the track. And as we go around the track, hey, how far do we have to run? I don't know. We'll let you know once you come around another couple laps. They've got rules in place that don't make sense, that need to be updated or changed or absolutely eliminated in some case, because it's getting away from us. To have Nick Saban walk away as quickly as he has, to have other coaches walk away right before the season is supposed to start. And no matter where you are at a university, basketball, football, of course, it's going to trickle into baseball. It's going to women's basketball. For us to not have answers before we have the questions, that to me is a problem. That's a part of it. And we can't figure it all out in one fell swoop. And nobody's knocking on my door. Mike, are they knocking on your door asking for answers? Are they coming around asking you for your opinion?
They are. They're especially asking me about my show called Sports Econ 101, probably heard on iHeartMedia, American Forces Network, YouTube, and Sports Byline USA. So yeah, they're asking me for answers. What the hell did you just ask me?
The man, whoever the man is, coming by and asking you, hey, we've got some things that we're going to do. We want your opinion before we do it, Mike, because that matters more than anything to us. No, I'm not getting anyone answer. No one's knocking on my door asking me those questions.
No one's asking. And furthermore, to your point, Vincent, you know who the dominant region of the country was for college baseball? It was the West. USC was the juggernaut. Arizona State, Arizona. Long Beach State was a great team. UC Irvine's come up. Who else? Cal State Fullerton
Fullerton won a national championship.
They've won about 3, I believe, maybe even 4. But now baseball in the West is also a foregone conclusion. The best baseball is in the South. Tennessee Volunteers. They just won the national championship. Vincent, here's your cue. 1, 2, 3. Go Volunteers. Say it.
Go Vols.
Okay. Again, a guy from Arkansas saying "Go Vols." I had to set you up, Vincent.
But you forgot one real point. The University of Arkansas has made the NCAA tournament, I think, like 5 years in a row.
Yes, they have. Yep, they're fantastic. Vanderbilt.
For baseball?
Yes, sir. And Vanderbilt, as Harper just mentioned.
Don't
leave our schools out in the South. And, of course, the Florida Gators.
But let's also not forget the Mississippi State Bulldogs with their unreal stadium and their, Will Clark and all the great players that played there. And I mean, baseball in the South, the stadiums are just second to none. USC is going to build a new on-campus baseball stadium. It will pale in comparison to what they want to do to the stadiums currently in the SEC. So, yeah, I don't know, man. The whole mentality. I mean, SC should have the golden palace of baseball stadium. They have more championships than any other program. They're like the UCLA of basketball in baseball. But ever since Rod Dato left that program, SC baseball has just been kind of a second-rate citizen.
Yeah,
for anybody that cares, by the way.
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit. Obviously, the landscape everywhere seems to be changing. Georgia State played at LSU last year. On the way to the stadium, I'm looking at where they play baseball. It's unbelievable. South Carolina's done the same thing. And again, part of the reason for that, Mike, is the school's football program has made enough money that it will trickle into women's swimming or into the track program, or in this case, into the baseball program, and they can enhance it, recruit better guys, and add to the program. It leaps and bounds. Kentucky is so much better than it was just a few years ago. Was it a basketball school only? You bet. Has their football program gotten better because of the money that comes in through all of the national championships and how that's pooled throughout the conference? I think that's a part of it as well. It's really interesting to see which programs are developing and re-energizing themselves financially so that they can recruit the top kids. And you got to have nice facilities in order to do that.
Well, speaking of facilities and marketing, I got to give you kudos, Harper. Obviously, you're a Dodger fan. Your beautiful Dodger blue shirt. And I just had to say that. So
we got one more game to go. We had a bullpen game last night. Okay, now let's strike Judge out, get Stanton the ground out, and don't give up any grand slams, please. Thank you. Then we're going to win a championship.
You are a Dodger fan, right?
Yes, I am. Born and raised.
Whatever. Good for. Hey, you know what? You finally might get a World Series title, the first one since '88. You and I both know that COVID crap series is an asterisk. That thing is a joke. So good for the Dodgers.
I agree.
Yes,
every 30 years, someone should win it, and it's only been about 37 since the Dodgers did it in '88. So we're working on it.
Hey, but at the same time, I'm Chavez Ravine. That stadium is still a great stadium. It's one of the best baseball stadiums in the country. Now, have you guys ever been to San Francisco and been to a game at AT&T ballpark with the Giants play?
I have not. I've been in Candlestick where they switched it over early, just a couple days earlier from baseball into football. But you didn't ask me that, so my answer is no. I've not been in Oracle Park yet.
Well, I can tell you that is it Oracle now or is it AT&T? It changes every 2 years. I can tell you that aesthetically, there's nothing more gorgeous than watching a baseball go out into the bay with a backdrop of the Bay Bridge and just the beauty of it. The guys in the kayaks and Wrigley, Fenway. Don't get me wrong, fabulous. Don't ever tear them down. Keep them. They are shrines to baseball. I still contest this. You guys can chime in. Why the hell did they get rid of the Yankee Stadium? Keep it, redo it. I mean, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, it goes on and on. Why would you ever get rid of that? I mean, I just don't get it. Any profound thoughts on that one? Anyways, since we're talking Dodgers and
a friend
Yankees.
of mine who read a book that said basically Babe Ruth could have hit close to 100 home runs in his day when Yankee Stadium back in the 20s, it did not have a wall where Monument Park is in left center field. If you hit a ball that went into where all those statues were, it would be a ground rule double. And Babe Ruth would hit balls there all the time to left center field. And so instead of 60 home runs that year, he could have hit close to 100. Okay, so the fun part about the picture on your left, folks, that's where the Giants play. You have to admit, as a Giant fan, Mike, when Madison Baumgartner and Max Muncy would yell at each other, and Max would hit one. Hey, look for that ball in the Pacific. Or Max, but Madison would strike him out. Great baseball. How do you keep the water from coming in from right field? How thick is the wall, and will that ever deteriorate to where we flood our players out? Talk to me.
No, it's never going to flood. It's elevated up pretty high. Man, the first time I went to that ballpark, I actually got to cover the opening day of that ballpark. It was like I was in another city. And then I went to a night game, my first actual game as a fan. It was like a warm evening in April. It was like I thought I was in San Diego, tropical weather. I saw the palm tree. I said, "Where am I? San Diego?" I mean, it was unreal. But that ballpark is special. The food is fabulous. The beers are at least $20 now.
Yeah.
But the food, I'm talking gourmet food, guys. I mean, that's the one thing about San Francisco and LA. Listen, I love the South. I love the culture. I love the people. But the food in San Francisco is world class, second to none. I'm in Jacksonville. I got to tell you right now, the Italian food here stinks. The Asian food here stinks. The Mexican food here stinks. I mean, y'all don't have, I say y'all like I'm from the South.
Yeah, you do.
You don't have a clue about world-class cuisine. Now, shrimp and grits, nothing better.
Yeah,
nothing better.
They got that. Yeah.
I mean,
hey, did you go to the only, Mike, that time you went and it was warm? Is that the only warm evening in San Francisco for a ball game? Because everybody's always wearing an overcoat.
No, man, listen to this. Well, the Giants had their game. Let's see. Season finished in September. One of the games was 103 degrees. It gets hot in San Francisco. People don't get that. Well, you know that, Harper. But San Francisco Bay Area gets really hot. And when it's hot in the Bay Area, in fact, my sister, it was 111 degrees, 112 degrees when my sister lives in the East Bay in Danville, California. And it's not like that southern heat where you got that humidity. When it gets hot there, man, it is miserable. It is miserable. You guys have any thoughts on that one? Do you care? No, it's okay.
Well, I remember as a young kid watching either Bill Singer or Claude Osteen or Doug Rao, Hoyt Wilhelm. After Koufax was done and Drysdale, there was a lull there in the late 60s and early 70s. But I would see the hot dog wrappers flying around in the wind about right behind home plate while you're trying to watch Vin Scully and Jerry Dugout do a game from San Francisco. Hot dog wrappers, pretzel wrappers, just with stuff blowing all over the place. By the end of the game, and all the players were wearing long sleeves, even though it was early August or late in July.
And you received all your weather information from courtesy of Dr. George and Johnny Mountain on KABC TV in LA. There was nothing better than seeing those guys. Yeah. Johnny, first of all, Vincent, there was a dude in LA. His name was Johnny Mountain. I mean, come on. He was the weather guy in LA. Does it get any better than that? Yeah, everybody, good morning. I'm Johnny Mountain.
I got a question. Yeah. Both of you gentlemen, y'all are really very serious Dodger fans, right? Y'all.
I'm not a Dodger fan.
Oh, okay.
I'm a Giants fan, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're oil and water.
You're a very serious Dodgers fan, right, Harper?
I am.
Okay. You remember this gentleman that played center field by the name of Reggie Williams? He played in '84. He was the opening day center fielder.
I do not. Shame on me.
Okay. No problem. I think he played for the Dodgers for like 2 to 3 years, where Mr. Mike and Mr. Harper, that guy was my classmate. I've been knowing him ever since the first grade. He was recently the head baseball coach at Alcorn State. He got let go before the season started. And he was a 3-time All-American at Southern University. And when I was in high school, we was at the same graduating class. He was the best athlete in high school, Reggie Williams. Shout out to you, man, if you're watching today here on 100 Yards of Football. There you go.
Hey, Reggie. All right, man. I'm sorry. I was in college and I did not pay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I did not pay as much attention to the Dodgers during certain portions of my life, but they've always been my team. Look at you, number 31, or is it 51?
Yes, sir.
51. Oh, goodness.
That's
right.
Is that okay? Oh, I thought that was okay. I thought you played for the Dodgers, Vincent.
No, don't start putting out there that don't do that. Don't do that.
Vincent,
Up your brain.
Hey,
you just mentioned Alcorn State, and the reason I got a quick segue for about 2 seconds. My school, Edward Waters University, we played Alcorn State a few weeks ago. Of course, we lost.
Sir.
We are 1-7, by the way, on the year. I just thought I'd mention that. And unlike the school that I did last year, Valdosta State, currently the number 1 ranked team in Division II football. I think this team has got a great chance to win a D2 title for anybody that cares. I know people in Valdosta care. You ever been to Valdosta?
Hey, Mike, let me share something with you. Right after we finish with you today, we're going to come on with our college football Super 7, and that's the team we talk about each week. Harper can contest to this. We always put Valdosta State at the top of the charts because they rank number 1, as you just said, in their division. Yeah. Tremaine, what's the head coach down there? Tremaine
Jackson.
Yes, sir. Not Tremaine Jackson. Tremaine Jackson.
Tremaine Jackson. Boy, Coach Jackson, yeah, he's a good guy. He's one of the up and coming coaches. This is what I predict. I can't say I know. I'm pretty positive it's going to happen. If he wins a national title, guess what? I'll say it. He's out of that. He's gone. Yeah. He's going to be coaching some Division I team. No doubt about it.
He'll move up.
Yeah. No, he's good. Here's the deal, though. But you know, Valdosta State plays in a 10,000 seat stadium. They might be able to get 11. It's actually the high school stadium of Valdosta High, and it's a joke. It's a joke. Okay, the stadium's owned by the school district, so Valdosta State doesn't even have its own football stadium. They need to acquire a stadium, rebuild one, state of the art, so they can legitimately be the program that everybody thinks they are. Their facilities are just okay. Their facilities are good. They have a great basketball arena, seats about 6,000, which is pretty impressive for Division II. And but their football stadium, it needs to be torn down and rebuild it. And I think I don't know. There's always been talk, why aren't they Division I? And the same old story. Yeah, there it is. I'm actually in the booth across the field over there. You can see my head when I was doing the play-by-play. I enjoyed it. I went to, like I said, where did I go? I went to West Alabama. That was a treat. In the middle of nowhere. I went to Pensacola, Florida, West Florida. That was a heck of a game. Mississippi College, which is in Jackson. That was kind of cool. The greatest place I went to, you guys ever heard of the school called Chowan State University?
No.
Murfreesboro, North Carolina, in the middle of farm pastures, man. It was unbelievable. Horrible team. We won. We played horrible too. But in fact, I told this to a friend of mine. I can't pull it up right now. But one of their alums, one of the human beings that attended Chowan State University, home of the Braves, in the middle of North Carolina. Boy, did I get an education out there. I've never been to that part of the country. I saw things I've never seen. The poverty was really eye-opening, and I had a lot of compassion. But Chowan State University, one of their guests was like third in command of Al-Qaeda. Can you believe that? And he finally was arrested. But he actually was one of the masterminds of the 9/11 attacks. Can you believe that? I just had to say that because it's the most random thing I've ever heard of.
Well, Chowan is going to be in Valdosta this weekend playing the Blazers.
Yeah, they're going to get whooped too.
I think they are.
Yeah. By the way,
the picture that he had, by the way, you got to open your eyes a little bit more, Mike, and look into the camera next time you see that picture coming. Would you do that for us, please?
Yeah, sure. I will. Yeah, I definitely. By the way, I'm a lot better play-by-play guy than the current voice. I'll leave it at that.
Just one man's opinion, right?
There were some hometown, I guess, deals going on in the background that I didn't know about, and I'm not a Valdosta guy, so they brought in one of their hometown guys. But as I said, I enjoyed the experience. I would never trade it. It's like some of the crappy towns I've lived in as a broadcaster. My first job was in Prescott, Arizona. That was interesting. I lived about 2 miles away from the Yavapai Indian Reservation. I lived in a log cabin. It got cold up there, Vincent. It was in the wintertime. I had about a maximum of 3 minutes of hot water during the freezing snow. And it would turn cold like that. It was unbelievable. So in other words, I wouldn't trade my journey for anything. I will mention I lived in Harper. I lived in Yuba City, California. I did news on KUBA radio, country station. At the time I lived there, and I forget, I was like 27. It was voted the worst city in America to live, from the educational standpoint, the crime standpoint, the economic standpoint. So I didn't last too long. I was a news guy there. I hated doing news. I basically got let go, and I said, well, my career can only go one place, and that's up, since I was living in the lowest ranked city in America, the worst city in America, and I get a job from the worst city in America, Yuba City, to Reno, Nevada, the world's biggest little city. So I just wanted to share that bit of that nugget of awesomeness there.
So if anybody's in standing in line and wanting to go to the worst city, you beat them to it, right? You were the guy that says, no, I got this. That's my assignment. I'll take it.
And I took it, and I made a lot of money. You guys have any idea how much broadcasters make when they are in this industry? We're very wealthy.
Sometimes you can't even count it. It's so much.
It's true. Vincent, I think my first job I made, was it $6, $7 in 1990, and then I graduated. I went to KUHL Santa Maria, the Central Coast, right near San Luis, Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, home of the Mighty Mustangs, and I was the sports director there. I did a daily talk show. I did the local news. I worked like 14, 16 hours a day, and I think I made $12.50 for the month. Thank you. Good times.
Wow.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, you can barely make rent with that.
Have you been to Yuba City, or excuse me, Santa Maria?
I have not. No.
They developed Santa Maria barbecue tri-tip steak, some of the best barbecue in America. Not like Southern barbecue, but the steak. I used to get slabs of steak, coleslaw, homemade San Luis sourdough sour bread for like $5.50, $6, and it all benefited like the Boy Scouts, the local church. It was awesome. Anyways, this conversation's awesome.
Well, you bring up some interesting points. But what I'm hearing you say, Mike, is, you know what? There are some tough times, but do your work, stick to it, find what you love, do it the best you possibly can. There are some messages in all of the satire that we're having here right now, but eventually, where does it lead you?
It leads you to Don't Stop Believing, one of the great songs by the band Journey. Nothing like seeing Neil Sean walking around. And boy, if you guys ever have me on again, I'll tell you about how the time my friend almost got in a fight with the guitarist Neil Sean. I could tell it now, or you can invite me on some other time, and I'm happy to do so. It was a scene out of Hollywood that I'll never forget. It was at a bar, and that's my teaser.
Your teaser right now. Well, my caveat to that would be, you really don't want to beat up the guitar player, the lead guitar player in the band. Maybe the rhythm, but not the lead guitar player. Is there some truth in that statement?
Possibly. Also, the guy is just not an impressive guy. I mean, Steve Perry, the lead singer, all the guy wanted was a little bit of a rest on his vocal cords, because he had a world-class voice, as you all know, and they kicked him out of the damn band. So, I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyways, that's a bit of trivia. And then next time you have me on my show, I'll tell you about my encounter with Huey Lewis and the news. And I'm giving you a lot of nuggets. I gave you a lot of nuggets pre-show that I didn't even get to share. So, if y'all ever have me on again, and I think I'm surpassing the time. I know you told me that Steve Travers went to 2 hours. I think we're at 2.5 hours. This must be a hell of a show.
Yeah, we're working on it to be a good show. Tell you what, we will hold you true and invite you back on. But in the meanwhile, why don't you do us a favor? Tell us how some of our listeners can hear you now. You mentioned the national show that you have. We all know about where you are right now in terms of your broadcasting for football. There's basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, golf. What else are you doing to keep yourself busy right now?
Well, I have a trust fund, so that's good. That's
It is good to have one of those, or two if you have a spare one laying around.
I may be delivering pizza soon. I'm not too sure yet. I'm working on it. Just finished my resume last night. No, I do. I do stuff for ESPN. Occasionally, I do some college basketball games. I'm working on to be a broadcaster, you must be in sales. Okay, I'm constantly having to sell myself. I'm constantly having to knock on doors. There are a few of the people in this industry that get a lot of opportunities, a lot of breaks. It's all about who you know. It's true. But I'm constantly, selling myself, having to talk to people. But I do college basketball. I recently did college soccer. I did professional soccer. I got to call a couple matches for Chivas FC and Club America in the Bay Area, which is like world-class Mexican division soccer. That's one of the thrills that I got to broadcast. I'm doing college baseball. I'm doing a little bit of work trying to get on with the AAA team out here, the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, because I just love baseball. I've even done volleyball. I did the Peach Belt Conference Volleyball Championship game, and that was a kick. I had never done volleyball in my life. You know what I did? I watched YouTube and watched Karch Karai. That's just basically mimicked what they did. And I talked very little, but I'd say, great. I'd say, well, I don't even know what I said. Great spike or great whatever the hell I said. But I've done a lot of sports. Really blessed about that. And I've met some incredible people, both as a sportscaster, but a newscaster. I didn't tell Vincent this, but if you guys ever want to call me up and you need a weather forecast, I can deliver that. I started out as a weather forecaster. My first TV job in the San Francisco Bay Area, I was the morning guy. I was actually known as the fun guy. And I would go out in the field. I get to do shows with celebrity chef Guy Fieri. Him and I are buddies, all sorts of different celebrities. And I got to do cool stuff. And I also did breaking news as well whenever that happened. But no, I keep myself busy. And like I said, with this sports talk show, it's called Sports Econ 101. And we are, again, heard on iHeartRadio. We are on Sports Byline USA. We're on Sirius XM and the American Forces Network, which I'm very proud about. Our military has an opportunity to listen to us on ships, on bases around the world. And so we really try to be mindful of that, because without our military, this country is nothing. And those men and women that serve our nation, I never served. I wish I did. But I have so much respect and love for them. My family, a large amount of them, were all in the military, mostly the Navy. And so really, really proud at this stage of my career to be serving our U.S. military at this point. And also we're on YouTube. You ever want to see how beautiful I am, along with my co-host. His name is Edward Brown. We get to, like I said, I told you, we have very diverse guests. We had on Andy Lewis, Admiral Andy Lewis, a 3-star admiral. He he ran the Atlantic Command for the U.S. Navy in the entire Atlantic Fleet. He also, and I'll cut it short, but he also was the commander for the Top Gun Flight School, which is the best of the best. So we have on people like that. We had on a young lady. I don't know if you heard of this lady, Peyton McNabb, Who is Peyton McNabb? She's a high school volleyball player. She was injured by a transgender student. Okay. She suffered a horrible concussion, was taken to the hospital. She was also an outstanding softball player. She had a full ride scholarship. She lost that scholarship. So we are one of the first shows in America to give her a forum to tell her side of the story, because most shows will not allow her because it's such a, quote, controversial subject. But, to play a physically superior against a physically superior male, it had a major consequences on her life. And she's still dealing with this stuff medically today. She's a sophomore in college right now. But we talk about those subjects that a lot of people don't want to tackle. And I'm very proud of that aspect. We'll talk about anything, and so the show is fun. It's different. It's the business side of sports, but we tackle anything. So,
Mike, tell us what station on Sirius you can find that. You call it, the show is called Sports Econ 101 on Sirius Radio. What channel?
Off the top of my head, I don't know what it is,
Okay.
But I guarantee you can find us there. You can definitely hear us on. We're on almost 300 stations on the iHeart stations, and I definitely looked at that. We're on YouTube too. So if, like I said, you want to see aesthetically beautiful people, go to YouTube and you'll see us. It's one of the great things in life. I mean, what about your show? Where do we get to see you guys? Tell us about.
Hold on, before we're going to wrap up with yours and your show specifically. If you want to know the truth and what's happening about sports, if you want to talk about how it's changing, like we've done here today, about how West Coast football or West Coast athletics is changing, and if I want to know what the cumulus clouds are doing and the Doppler radar, the latest on that, I can get all that on your show. Is that correct, Mike?
That is correct. We even drop nuggets about faith and God, because we're not afraid to talk about that either. A lot of sports shows, you never hear sports athletes and God in the same sentence, because that's offensive. But a lot of athletes have faith and they love God, and we're not afraid to talk about it. And I'm pretty proud of that as well.
Absolutely. And thank you. And for your service to our country, because you are contributing to the eyes and ears of our armed forces across the world on Armed Forces Radio. Thank you for your service in doing that, and for being a part of helping make the country as great as it can possibly be. Thank you very much for doing that. What we're going to do right now, Vincent, why don't you give me your final thoughts today about Mike McDowd and having him on our show? It's too bad Mike didn't have anything to tell us.
First and foremost, I want to say I'm very blessed today. Over the last few months, we've had some wonderful guests that's come across this platform here, 100 Yards of Football. But I would say this gentleman is probably at the top of our list as one of the top 5. Very talented. I see why his career has went as well as it has. A guy that knows a lot of stuff that I learned about Mr. McDowd today. Very versatile, not only from football, basketball, baseball, from other sports and other walks of life. But I can tell you this, he brought up one key point. When we finish today and I go home tonight and I'm on my knees, I'm going to thank God for having this gentleman on our show, because it makes me feel good. And I feel like a kid in a cookie jar. Thank you for coming on today and being with us today here on 100 Yards Football, Mr. Mike McDowd. Thank you, sir.
Do I respond?
Yes, please. Final thoughts from you, Mike.
It was an absolute thrill to be on the show. You guys are great Canadians. You talk about hockey the way it should be talked about. Yeah. Ice fishing in Saskatchewan is fantastic. There's nothing like Southern barbecue, being in the South now. We talked about so many diverse subjects. We were all over the place. Vincent, you're a pro's pro. Harper, you're a nice guy. You're pretty good at what you do.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're a black knight of Notre Dame High School. When you told me that, I about flipped out of my chair. I mean, Harper is good, a great man. We had a horrible conversation initially, but later we became friends. And it's one of those things where you just kind of meet people. You say, "Huh, all right, sure, I'll do your show, no problem." And again, just next time, directly go through my agent. I have a small fee. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you guys, really one of the finer shows I've been on in a long time. I appreciate the fact that we took a lot of breaks, a lot of commercials. So I respect the fact that you're making income. But no, this has been fun. It's been great. You guys are pros, and you just know how to have a conversation. You're great Americans. You're great people. Vincent, I don't know, man. I don't know why it took so long. I'm a little perplexed. I'm a little angry right now, as you can see. I'm very angry, and in the words of one great rap star, you got to pray just to make it today. So, MC Hammer.
Well, Mike, it's a pleasure having you on as a guest, getting a chance to meet you, find out a little bit about your background, find out about what's important to you, the issues, not only themselves, but your belief, your faith, and how that produces the results to where someone as simple as a high school or college freshman through senior can have you announce their name, and they can be important. They can be difference makers because of what they're doing on a field or on a court, on a pitch of grass or sport turf. So thank you for your part in making high school, collegiate, and professional sports even a little bit better than what it already is today. And I say that in tribute to you, to honor you for doing that, because it takes a special person to go through some of the grind that is a part of what broadcasters have to do. But for being a guest on our show, we thank you so very, very much. And we'll end today by just saying, folks, it's different stories that you're going to hear on 100 Yards of Football. And Mike's was definitely unique. And we appreciate him giving his time. So for Vincent Turner, for our producer, Logan Landers, who's putting all these things together, and for Mike McDowd, our guest tonight, we'd like to say thank you for watching 100 Yards of Football. We hope you have a fantastic day, everybody.